Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 5:30, and I will call this regular meeting of the Burnsville City Council to order. It is our tradition to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's meeting is being conducted both in person and online. Members of the public may attend in person, as you all are doing this evening, and others can also join us online. They can also view the meetings on burnsvillemn.gov/meetings or on Comcast channel 16 or 859. The public can also participate through Zoom by joining us at zoom.us/join. And more information is available on our meetings webpage and in the council agenda packet. The next item on the agenda has to do with all of our announcements, and our announcements have to do with upcoming meetings. Regular council meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, September 3rd at 5:30 p.m., Tuesday, September 17th at 5:30 p.m. We have a work session that's scheduled for Tuesday, August 27th at 5:30 p.m., and Tuesday, September 10th at 5:30 p.m. We have budget work sessions scheduled for tonight, Tuesday, August 20th at 6:30 p.m., and Tuesday, August 27th at 6:30 p.m., and Tuesday, September 10th at 6:30 p.m. And tonight we have recognitions for outgoing commissioners, and then we also have a special presentation this evening, and we'll do the presentation after the recognition of our outgoing commissions, and I'll do it from that end. Council members and members of the public, tonight we are here to recognize an outgoing commissioner, and that is Mark Cleveland, who has served on our PNRC. Mark, thank you so much for your dedicated service to our Planning Commission, from our Parks and Natural Resource Commission, July 2018 to July 2024. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. All right, we'll look through here real quick. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to get one.
Yeah, and
on my
so,
phone.
okay. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
One more. Yeah.
1, 2, 3. All
And
right.
we have one right here with the rest of the council and our city manager, so.
Oh. All right. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And I'll get again with the phone. All right, 1, 2, 3. There we go.
Now, tonight is the first of this event, and so it's a great pleasure to recognize Councilmember Dan Keeley. If you can come, and I'm going to refer to Councilmember Keeley as Mr. Keeley because he's here representing the Burnsville Festival Fire Muster, and he is the chairman and president of the Burnsville Festival and Fire Muster. And so we're here to recognize students from the festival and Fire Muster for button design contest. And this is the first that we've had with a button design that honors 3 students from our Burnsville High School who submitted designs for this year's buttons. And we appreciate the partnership that we have with the school district. And so thank you to School District 191 for all of the work that we do together for our community, for our students, and for our families. And with that, Mr. Keeley, Chairman of the Burnsville Festival and Fire Muster and President, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as the mayor noted, I'm speaking tonight as the president of the Burnsville Festival and Fire Muster. And it's an honor to come here tonight and be able to recognize 3 students for some great designs in developing, for the first ever student design, Burnsville Festival Fire Muster button. There's a lot of history, and I'm going to touch base on that a little bit. I want to recognize we have a board member here tonight. John Hamilton is on our board. Thank you for coming tonight. The festival is a 501c3. It's a nonprofit that plans and organizes and executes an annual fundraiser event called the Burnsville Festival and Fire Muster. Few people know that. Most people perceive it as a city festival that the city does. The city is an incredible partner. In fact, the biggest partner to help make it happen. We couldn't do it without police, fire, streets, and city staff helping. So big hats off and thank you to our city partner. We have 13 board members and 23 volunteer event committee members that get together for 11 months to help put it together. And then over 100 show up, more like 150 over the 3 days to execute the festival. And obviously we're very pleased with the last few years, making it more inclusive, adding some more multicultural, more diverse foods, music. We've seen a bigger crowd than ever before. For 43 years, the festival had a custom button that was commemorative, that was designed by one person, Janet Peterson. She lost her husband this year, and she designed an honorable one to pay homage to her husband. But she wanted to retire. You might have saw a news story. There was a nice article in our Burnsville Sun Current talking about her history in designing the button and her husband. So it was also, up till 2017, you would get a button when you paid $5 for, I think it was 11 and older, to get into the festival. So thousands of buttons were created every year. And then in 2017, the festival changed to be a free entry for anyone to come, which I think was a great idea. So we wanted more people. We didn't want any barriers to entry. So the button became more of a collector item. So that's the setup. So with Janet wanting to retire, we reached out to the school district and said, let's have a contest. Let's get the students in the art class involved in designing the new button for 2024. And we hope that this is a regular thing. And so after the tonight's recognized students, maybe they're graduating, going on to college, maybe they're a sophomore or a junior, and they could enter the contest next year. So we hope that happens. So tonight, the festival board is going to recognize these 3 winners. We have a first place winner, that is our official button, a first runner-up, and an honorable mention. And all 3 students did a great job in coming up with a design based on some guidelines that we gave to just say, it needs to have these things, but you create something. So first I'd like to introduce and bring up Jason Sellers. He runs the ISD 191 Community Ed Division, which is a huge part of the entire ecosystem of our ISD 191. Thank you, Jason, for joining us tonight. So we're going to start with honorable mention tonight with a $50 Visa gift card, and we're going to also give each winner a PDFD challenge coin. You can purchase those coins at Cub Foods for $10, and the proceeds go to the foundation. So, Amelia Ribbentrop, did I get that pronunciation right? Oh, come on up and receive your award. Oh, there you go. It's a challenge coin. Now you have to challenge people. Thank you.
Congratulations.
You want
Turn
to turn for a
around.
picture? Here, we'll just blank you.
Yeah.
And you don't have to speak if you don't want a long speech, it's okay.
1, 2, 3. We'll get some.
The family phones, come on.
All right, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Hang around, we're gonna get a photo with the group after
Everybody.
we're done. Thank you so much. Our first runner-up. This design was really close in this particular contest. It garnered a lot of discussion along with our winner. We're very happy to award a $50 gift card and a challenge coin to Ivanka Singh. Ivanka, can you come up and join us?
And let people know that it's on the screen.
Yes, it's on. You can see Ivanka's design on screen.
Congratulations.
And what grade are you in?
I'm going into college.
You're going into college. All right, congratulations.
All right, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three.
Man, oh, I got that one. Thank you very much. And finally, we'll present our winning button. Beautiful design. We're very excited about having these available. The winner is going to receive 25 of these buttons to give to her family and friends, a $100 Visa gift card, and a challenge coin. Congratulations to Emma DeBilzen. Emma, would you come up and join us? Now we can give her a round of applause for her. Yeah. Thank you.
Very nice. Congratulations.
I'll say Emma was very gracious to work with us in getting the art files and everything so we could get the buttons made.
All right, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, would all the winners join us in the front here? We're going to get a picture with the city council and staff.
All right, is everyone there? All right, 1, 2, 3. We'll do some on the phone again. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, just have a follow-up. These buttons will be for sale at the Burnsville Festival and Fire Muster, in the 2 beer tents, and at our information booth tent.
Okay, very good.
And we're having a lot of them made because we expect to sell a lot of them. Thank you.
And it's very beautiful, so thank you so much. It's been nicely done.
Very nicely done, Emma.
Yeah. The next item on our agenda is citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council on an item that is not on the printed agenda and not an application form that will be coming before us in a future date. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item, who wishes to address the council? Anyone who wishes to address the council? Mrs. Collins, anyone online?
No one for citizen comment, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We then will move on. The next item is additions to the final agenda. This is for emergency items only. City Manager Lindberg, are there any emergency items to come before the council?
Nothing from staff, Mayor.
Thank you. Members of the council?
Nothing.
Thank you. We will move on. The next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item on a consent agenda can be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item on the consent agenda to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Anyone who wishes an item to be pulled for a separate discussion and vote? Mrs. Collins, anyone online?
No one online, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. City Manager Lindberg.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have one item that I'd like to remove for just a brief comment and update to both you and the community. It's item 4R, approving outside repairs to one of our utilities vehicles.
Okay, and that item is pulled for a separate discussion and vote. Thank you. Members of the council? If not, may I have a motion for the balance, please?
Move to approve the balance.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Lindberg, and this is 4R.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you for taking just a brief moment tonight on consent item 4R. This is an approval of outside repairs with a vendor to one of our utility vehicles. It's the vehicle that addresses repairs and vacuuming of our sanitary sewer. The vehicle had some unexpected issues last week that your original agenda report had quantified at just right around $27,000. Unfortunately, last week we learned from the vendor that there was some additional electrical repairs that were needed to the vehicle, which increased that total cost to $34,046.06. Our team made those changes to the packet. I wanted to make you aware that the agenda report itself was updated. That was communicated to the community. Wanted you to have that information here and pull it for your consideration, any discussion that you might want to have, and ultimately a vote on the item.
Okay. Any questions? May I have a motion, please, to adopt?
Motion to approve.
Second. There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We now will move on to the regular agenda. And the first item on the regular agenda is to approve the joint powers agreement. This is a joint powers agreement with MnDOT and Dakota County for I-35W and Buck Hill Road off-ramp project. Presenting this evening is our Deputy City Manager, Community Development Director, Mr. Jeff Thompson. Mr. Thompson,
Thank
the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you introduced, we are seeking the Council's approval tonight of two agreements related to the 35W and Buck Hill Road Access Project. Just as a bit of background for the Council and for the community, this project, the design of this project was really initiated back in May of 2022, and that's when the Council first ordered a preliminary design be developed for the I-35W southbound access to Buck Hill Road and with connections to the County Road 42 and to the Burnsville Center site. So that's when the initial design work began on the project. That was discussed at a council work session in January of 2023 on an update on that design. And then in February of 2023, the council approved a joint powers agreement with Dakota County that was really specific to the cost sharing for the design of the project. And so those are some of the previous actions. And then kind of the rounding out the preliminary design, in May, the council authorized a work order with MnDOT to really continue that design work from preliminary design into further design development of the intersection and the off-ramp improvements. And then all of the engagement that was done for the preliminary design was wrapped up in July of 2023, and we included the engagements, the community engagement summary report that was prepared at that time. Really, since then, there's been no, it's just the design has been furthered along into more details and more design and engineering, but the layout has really stayed the same from that preliminary design layout. So this is the proposed design for the project. The areas in kind of the maroon or pinkish color are future projects to be coordinated with redevelopment at Burnsville Center. So really the improvements shown on the bottom half of the map in the red and yellow and purple are really the extent of the improvements that are proposed as part of the project. So as I said, there's two agreements for the council's consideration tonight. The first is an agreement with MnDOT. So MnDOT has agreed to really two things. They've agreed to lead the easement acquisition that is required for the project. So there's some land that's required to be obtained by what we call the former Sears site that's owned by Buck Hill Partners. There's some temporary and permanent easements that would need to be acquired for the project for construction. So MnDOT has agreed to lead that acquisition and to pay for the administrative and legal costs with that, with the city being responsible for the actual costs for the easements themselves. And we'll talk a little bit about the separate agreement around the cost sharing of that. So as I said, MnDOT will pay its own costs, its own administrative and legal costs for the acquisition. And then the second agreement will come in the future. So that's what this agreement covers today. In the future, we will have a separate agreement between the county and MnDOT and the city that will cover everything related to construction. So that's not in the proposed agreement with MnDOT tonight. That will come before the council at a future meeting. And then the second agreement is with Dakota County. This really amends that 2023 joint powers agreement with the county that I referenced. Some of the terms for the council's awareness in that agreement is it calls for the city obtained a $3.1 million transportation economic development grant from the state. And so it applies that $3.1 million to the project, for the total project, in advance of any of the cost sharing for the agreement. And then it reduces the city's cost sharing within the agreement from what is today 60% responsibility of the county, 40% to the city. It increases that to 70% for the county and 30% to the city. So there's a cost savings associated with the cost sharing model. And then we did, it does include applying our 2024 deed host grant to the project before the cost sharing, but doesn't reference any of the potential use of future years of the deed host grant that the city is eligible to apply for and receive from the Department of Employment and Economic Development. And then, as I said, along with the construction, ultimately the future maintenance is the responsibility of the jurisdiction. So the county will be responsible for the County Road 42 improvements, and the city will be responsible for the improvements to Buck Hill Road. Moving forward, should the council approve the two agreements tonight, MnDOT will really immediately start the easement acquisition process. They're versed in doing this as part of their transportation project, so they will start and they will be responsible for completing those tasks. It is expected then that this project will be included in the larger 35W improvements that MnDOT is planning on starting construction in early 2025. So our plan in that construction agreement in the future is to turn the project over to MnDOT also for construction of the project. We anticipate MnDOT will bid that in February of next year and then award the contracts in April of 2025 so that this project can be constructed in the 2025 construction season, wrapping up in the fall of 2025, and then having the temporary easements expire at the end of 2026. So with that, as I said, those are the two agreements that are before the council tonight. Staff recommends approval of both the joint powers agreement with Dakota County and adopting the resolution for the joint powers agreement with MnDOT. And Mayor and Council, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so just for clarification, this is the Buck Hill LLC, which is the Swervo site. So this is the ownership of that 5, because we always talk about the 4 ownership to the mall. So we're only talking about the Swervo site.
Mayor and Council, that's correct. So the land, the permanent and temporary easements that need to be acquired for the project are on property that is wholly owned by Buck Hill Partners LLC. That's the legal entity. The developer behind that entity is Swervo, the Swervo development.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for Mr. Thompson, members of the council? No questions for Mr. Thompson? Okay. Mr. Thompson, are there any other concerns that you know about?
Not from staff, Mayor. I know we've had conversations with Burnsville Center, but there's no concerns from staff on the agreements before you tonight.
Okay. So I don't have,
Madam Mayor, we had somebody on the Zoom that said Brent Snyder is here to speak to this item.
okay.
Brent Snyder?
Mr. Snyder, okay, you did not sign in that you wanted to speak to this item, but Mr. Snyder, please come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record and who you're representing.
Apologize for missing that procedural requirement. Madam Mayor and council members, I appreciate the opportunity to address this honorable council here this evening. I do represent the owners of the Burnsville Med Center proper, Windfall Group, Pacifica Mall Burnsville, on
Yeah.
you mentioned
The north
mine-
side of the group and the management group.
in the management, yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay,
for-
because there's, J.C. Penney's owns the south quarter, Macy's owns the west quarter.
Sears.
And the Buck Hill LLC owns the east quarter.
Yes, and before I forget, you'd asked me to state my name and address for the record. My name is Brent Snyder, Snyder. I'm with Snyder Attorneys, which has the address of 200 Southdale Center in Edina, 55435. So yes, as council is aware, the center is not just, one parcel. There's 4 in here, and they really operate as kind of a symbiotic relationship, especially with respect to this ring road that goes all along the mall. I wonder if I could trouble you to put the slide back up with the just the graphic of what's planned. I think it's nice to have the visual. Yeah. So, and I'm here today on behalf of my client, which is the owner of the mall portion with all the smaller tenants, et cetera, and an affiliate owns the decks on the northern side. This mall has over 100 tenants, and just based on half of the reported sales reports that we have, they generate well into 8 figures in sales and contribute well into 7 figures on sales tax. And my client and the neighbors, who I'm not speaking for, but in our discussions, we only really recently become aware of what this project entails. And, specifically with respect to this ring road, which is the road that goes all the way around the property, can access all the sites from it. It's going to be affected by this on a temporary and on a permanent basis. We're very concerned about the effect that this is going to have on especially a temporary basis for a couple of years here, but also on a permanent basis, and what that's going to mean for people that are seeking to to access these businesses. And my client has owned this property for about a year now, and we're really trying to turn it around and trying to avoid some additional hurdles. Missing from the appraisal that was attached to the agenda, which I believe the council may be relying upon in taking the next step forward, is any type of traffic study that will have what effect will have on not just the Sears parcel, which is a vacant building and isn't going to be affected so much by loss of access, but the other parcels, which it's going to be more difficult to come to the building. And we believe that traffic study should be a part of the overall consideration and the appraisal and what awards are going to be budgeted to not just the Sears parcel, but also to the overall center. It seems that the conversations have been focused really just with the Sears parcel and Swervo, but this affects us a lot more than it does them. We understand that there's going to be some redevelopment of the Sears parcel, which we have not been privy to what those intentions are. But that building is lying dormant, and ours is running, and we're trying to improve it. So we think that moving forward right now is premature. The appraisal that the council would be relying on will need to be updated with what these this traffic study is going to do to the other parcels at the center. And with respect to the ring road, with respect to the presentation, it's not really just a matter of one parcel, because they are all interconnected through easements and shared operating agreements. And so the owner of the Sears parcel, Buck Hill Road LLC, they are contractually obligated to include the other parcels in any discussions with the city or government authorities in eminent domain proceedings to determine the location of a relocation of this ring road. And if they don't do that, then although the city is not a party to the operating agreements, it will be an arbitration with the owners of the Sears Buck Hill, or the Sears property, because that's what they're contractually obligated to do. Also, where these new easements are going to lie, it appears will go over existing easements that are that benefit the other parcels of the property. And so the budget for any award would need to consider those lost easement interests as well. So respectfully, I'm here today to voice those concerns of my client, to stress that the property is, or the proposals to move forward are premature at this time. And not only my client, but the other owners of the parcels that make up the center need to be included in this discussion, these discussions. We're not here to outright oppose this, but we just feel like we've been left out, and some really important interests are being ignored, especially with respect to the community of 100 businesses that are tenants within the Burnsville Center.
Okay. Councilmember Workman, you have a question for Mr. Snyder.
Not a question necessarily, I just need clarification. I believe this has been worked on for well over a year, maybe close to 2 years. Is that correct?
Mr. Thompson, I think it's probably well over 2 years when we've been working with MnDOT on this exit ramp.
Mayor and council, the design work began in May of 2022. So that's when the design work and community engagement started for it. And we know the idea for the project was started as part of the Village Center study and kind of came out of that in conversations with the county. But really the design that's before the council tonight started in May of 2022, and that's when the engagement happened, and leading up until July of 2023 when that preliminary design was finished.
The Village Center study, I think, included this or something similar to this, which I believe we put together in 2018, 2019.
17, 18, yes, you're correct.
Certainly not sudden. I think you have every right to be concerned about a project, but I guess as I've been reviewing this, I've thought of this as a benefit to the site. You're placing traffic directly onto the site and alleviating the need to go on to 42, wait in several stoplights, and then get into the site. To me, this feels like it's benefiting this site probably primarily more than any other business in the area, but that's just my opinion on this. More so just wanted clarification on the timeline from when we started discussing this to tonight, so thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Schultz?
So at what point and when were you engaged on this project, and at what point did you voice opposition to it, and to whom?
Are you addressing me?
Correct.
So I've been involved with this project. I assisted the buyer with the purchase of the real estate, and that closed in October of last year. So the concerns about this came to my client's attention earlier in this year, 2024. We have participated, I have participated in one meeting about this issue, and my clients have, through their representatives, have participated in a couple others, but became aware of the design and the specifics just in the last few months. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, so Mayor and Council, I know in the engagement summary, like I said, the preliminary design engagement happened from May of 2020 through July of 2023, and the list of all of the stakeholders that were engaged in that was included in your packet. We understand the current mall ownership changed in, I think it was September of 2023, so there was some ownership change at the mall after that community engagement. the similar partners were engaged as the different owner over at Pacifica Square. I understand it's a
Yeah.
different property, but we did engage the Windfall Group.
The Windfall
and the
Group,
Wind
and then
Group.
there's the Wind Group.
Correct, both of those in the design conversations because of their ownership at Pacifica Square. So that, as a part of the preliminary design process. Since that time, right, like I said, the design has been further developed, but the layout has generally stayed the same. We have engaged in conversations with both the Sears owner and the mall ownership as part of any redevelopment conversations, right? As we talk to people about potential redevelopment or development at the mall, we have made every party aware that this project, and pulled up the plans and made them aware that this project was planned in the future, and any updates about the timing of that project.
Was opposition voiced?
Mayor and council, not in the redevelopment conversations that I had, but certainly in our recent conversations, they have expressed the concerns that were expressed tonight.
If I may, Councilmember.
Did you want to
I want to make a
comment?
clarification. I'm not here today to oppose this project outright. What I am here today is to express our concern that it is premature, and that the
I think it's the premature word that is not really correct.
Okay.
Because 2022 is when we started. It's not premature.
the council's consideration of, taking the next step in reliance upon, the appraisal and other figures, we respectfully submit that this appraisal needs to be updated after a review of a traffic study, which will show the impact of the businesses at the other parcels.
Councilmember Keeley. Oh, Mr. Thompson, you wanted to add to that?
Mayor, I would just add that the agreement that's before the council is to turn over the right-of-way, the easement acquisition process to MnDOT. So we understand there's further conversations about the appraisal and other studies they may want, but really before the council tonight is whether the council wants to turn that acquisition over to MnDOT for them to be responsible.
That's right. There's only two things here, and it is the agreement with MnDOT and the agreement with the county. And there's a lot of money connected to both. But I'll come to all of that when it gets to my turn to talk. Councilmember Keeley.
Madam Mayor, thank you. I guess what I feel like I'm hearing is there are abutting properties who feel they're going to be impacted, and they're really asking to be more involved as a stakeholder in the process. They obviously can't in certain legal scenarios, but in the spirit of partnership and the impact to the area, an opportunity to have a voice at the table and participate where there's discussion. They are coming in late because the transaction happened, afterwards. This has been a project that's been in the works for quite some time, as pointed out. I just think, as the gentleman stated, he's not opposing it. He's just asking for a little bit of participation, and in the spirit of, hey, we're going to be impacted by this. I'm not trying to say we do anything that's not, business respectful and that wouldn't be legal, but obviously the right-of-way doesn't involve them, but the intersection does, and we do see it as a positive. I think this is a big positive for access point into the mall area, so I think it's a positive overall, but it just sounds to me like you're looking for some opportunities to be voice at the table, more involved. You did point out you have an objection on being premature. That might be a victim of the timetable that we can't do anything about at this point, because we do see it as a very valuable asset. It's a great traffic asset to improve that area, and it offers some opportunities in the future development of that end of the mall, the east end of the mall. So I certainly don't find any objection to it. I don't hear an objection to it, but I do hear we feel like we've been, we're late to the party, maybe is a better way to put it, but we'd like to be involved.
Councilmember Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we've been on this project for quite a while. One of the concerns I have, I know we're going to be fixing 42, which I'm very happy about. I think a benefit that the mall will benefit from this. My concern is we're going to be putting some infrastructure in there, and we don't know what's happening with that mall yet. there's been lots of delays out there. I keep hearing lots of supply chain delays and that. Supply chain's been fixed for quite some time, so I don't understand those delays. And I'm worried about putting something in and something won't be happening in that mall. And that makes me a bit nervous. But fixing 42 is paramount for me, and that's why I like this project. Just so you understand that. And your agreements you have with each other is between you and your other partners out there, not us.
Okay, Councilmember Schultz.
Since the narrowness of our decision today is whether we turn over the process for acquisition of the property, which appears to also have an eminent domain proceeding into it, over to MnDOT, are you objecting to that? Or are you wanting to be able to talk with MnDOT to look at, are you being fairly appraised on the property?
But it's not his, it's Swervo's.
He is representing, so that's what I'm asking.
I do not represent Swervo.
Nope.
No, I understand that. I'm trying to get to, do you have a question? Or are you in opposition of council turning this over to MnDOT? We have a very narrow area that we are deciding our vote on. So I want to be clear about what you are trying to accomplish for your clients.
Yep. I'm sorry if I haven't been clear on that for you, council member. We think that the agreement should not be approved by the council until the traffic study has been done to determine the detriment to the businesses and also to include that information in the appraisal upon which the council appears to at least partially being reliant upon in making this vote today.
Do you have a follow-up question? Or may I proceed with my questions?
Go for it. I may have another question. Yeah.
Mr. Snyder,
Madam Mayor.
you want the project to pause so that you can do, are you going to do the road study?
We are going to, well, we do.
You will invest the money to do the study?
We believe that as part of the, we believe it should be done at the
Yeah, and
expense.
who's paying for it, sir?
MnDOT.
Why do you think MnDOT should be paying for a study when, so I'll set that aside. So with all of that, you talked about the shopping center and how many, because there's a lot of dark spaces in the center, do you know how many leases you have?
Yes, we have about 100.
You have 100 leases? How many spaces do you need? Do you need to have, is that like 70% occupancy, 80% occupancy, 90% occupancy? What is it?
I don't know the exact occupancy figure at this time.
So you don't know.
I just know that we have 100 leases.
You
and-
have 100 leases, but you don't know what the percentage is of the occupancy.
Well, I believe I'm joined today by my client representative, Patricia Lenzer, and via Zoom, and I'm pretty sure she could answer that question
Yeah.
from.
So here's my question to you, because you want us to pause, and we're okay with working with all of you, but we're here to approve a joint powers agreement with MnDOT and with Dakota County. If we don't do that tonight, what happens, Mr. Thompson, with the money from MnDOT? And can you please pull up, because I know how much money is going into this project from the state. How much is that?
Mayor, Mayor and Council, I think I heard two questions. So
Yeah.
So in order for, let me back up just to make sure it's clear. So we are in works with MnDOT to turn also the construction of their project to be done in coordination with their larger project that's happening on 35W.
That's right.
In order to do that and to meet the bidding deadlines,
Yeah.
the easement acquisition discussions need to happen, and they need to happen starting essentially now. So MnDOT has asked that we approve these agreements tonight. Unfortunately, I think if it gets pushed further, I don't know if MnDOT will be able to meet their deadlines of what they need to do to acquire those easements in time to bid the project. That was, I think, the first question.
That's right. And what happens if we don't act tonight? Do we lose all of that money?
Mayor and council, so if the project doesn't proceed on the,
Yeah.
with the model that we've talked about, which is turning it over to MnDOT, yes, the federal funding,
Goes away.
correct.
And how much is that?
The federal funding is $3.1 million.
Okay, now let's go to the county money, because that's the biggest one. According to our background, the county is putting in 70%.
4.8 million, I believe is the number in the paper. Is that correct?
Mayor and council, I think in the opinion of cost participation that was included in the packet, I think that's the amount for construction, and then there's an additional, from Dakota County, almost $650,000 in
Yeah.
the easement cost. So
Yeah.
that's about, I think in total, Dakota County is about just under 5.5 million.
And what happens when we don't act on that tonight with Dakota County?
Mayor and council, I think we will be challenged to be able to turn the project over to MnDOT to be constructed as part of the larger 35W project.
So it goes away. All that money goes away. MnDOT turns over that money to another city that they're doing projects for. And Dakota County will turn that money over to another city within Dakota County that they're doing projects for. So I understand if you want to work on the ring road, because when I look at the ring road, it's a very small area. But what I'm hearing from you is that we're dealing only with two things here, and we're only about zoning, ordinance, and code. And it is your responsibility to be having those conversations with all of your partners who are owners of the mall. And you're trying to make it our problem, when you should be making those collaborations and discussions if you all would just talk with one another. Here, there's a lot of money that's going to go away, and the work that we've been doing to help really improve access into the mall is not going to happen. And you're asking us to not do that tonight. And I can't, in good conscience, with all the work that's gone into this, tell you we're not going to act on this. I don't know what my colleagues on the council would do, but this money will go away. Then you know what? Nothing happens. It goes away and there's no access to the mall. No improved access to the mall. Everything else that we've been working on for 2 years will go away. And I'm not happy about that. Because you know what? We've been talking with the Windfall Group and the Wind Group for a long time. So if they're saying that they have not had access to all of this information, then I'm sorry. If they're really interested in the work that's going on there, then they should be proactive in all of these engagements that we've been having about that property. This is not new. And I can tell you that the folks at the Windfall Group and the Wind Group know about this. They know about this access. So, members of the council, there's a lot of money and a lot of time that has gone into this. All we're being asked about is to approve the joint powers agreement so work can continue. And I believe that MnDOT and the Wind Group and Buck Hill LLC can all sit down and take a look. If you can please pull up that right there. So you're just talking about the ring road. You're talking about a small little sliver. And this is a roundabout. And you know what? We have lots of roundabouts in Burnsville. That ring road access, it can be really well incorporated into that roundabout. And it's not going to affect it. It's continuation all around that property, if you really take a look at how that is designed. And right now, MnDOT will begin that work. And if you all could just sit down together and work together as partners and owners of this mall, talk to each other. You all own a piece of the mall, and we're trying to help with access to the mall. Now, if we don't act on this tonight, members of the council, then we lose all that money. We lose the MnDOT, the federal money, and the county money. And so, members of the council, your pleasure. Staff is asking us to approve the joint powers agreement. It doesn't mean that we can't work on this roundabout and the access around the mall through the roundabout. Mrs. Collins.
Madam Mayor, we have Stas Manchik on Zoom that would like to speak.
Then I will recognize and name and address for the record.
Mayor, Council, thank you so much. Sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I got basketball tryouts and hockey. I would have loved to be there. Stanislav Manchek, 6450 Larkspur Lane, Corcoran, Minnesota, 55340. So I just want to speak on behalf of the Win Group, Windfall, and, Brent Siders there representing us. But so this project in all of our meetings was a little drawing with the new development that we tried to develop that was, essentially shut down. And now we know why it was shut down, because of this whole redevelopment plan that was happening right next door to it. So we're not opposed to this development happening. We, like the many meetings that we've had, we have purchased this mall to make it better again, to bring the community back together to it, to bring in new businesses, new stores. What we feel that this is premature is because no traffic studies have been done on how it affects access into the mall from that side of the mall, with the roads being shut down, construction traffic using our entrances, creating traffic during construction, and then also the access is capped off into the Suerbo side. For how many years, nobody knows, because that is meant for the Aldridge extension. That's going to be capped off on the fourth side of that roundabout. So we're not trying to have the city lose money or these grants or anything else. All we're trying to do is, we would have hoped that we wouldn't have found out about this project by MnDOT reaching out to us, and then Jeff Thompson getting upset at MnDOT and canceling all of our MnDOT meetings because we found out that this project was moving forward from MnDOT, not from anybody in the city, and that this vote was happening and they had some questions for us and got us involved into this process. What we're trying to understand is, we're just trying to have a traffic study done on how a ring road that shuts down essentially for 2 years is going to affect the ease of access into the mall. Because if you look at Eden Prairie Center, after their whole reconstruction was done, it's a mess to get in and out of that mall with all the roads that have to connect and disconnect. So that's where we're asking for. We're not asking to stop this project. All we're asking for is to have some traffic studies done to see how it affects not just Macy's, not just JCPenney's, because from our conversations with those two groups, yes, they have heard about this project a couple of years ago when it was just a little drawing, and that was it. None of their concerns were addressed. From our conversations with them in the last couple of days, they said that every concern that they've brought up, they've never heard back on about it at all. So where I'm trying to get to, council and mayor, is we're not opposed to this project. We just want to understand this project better and the effects that it's going to have, A, on redevelopment, B, on property values, and C, on what the redevelopment plans are that we don't know about that are going on behind the scenes with the payment to Swearbo for this parcel and what is actually happening so we can plan our development properly to it. Because the development that we tried to plan can't happen because it would affect the connectivity to this road, and that's why it's not happening anymore.
And what is that plan, Stas?
Plan for what?
Well, you said you have a redevelopment plan that it can't happen because of this improvement to the access to the mall. And where is it going to be
So we brought the redevelopment
located?
plan in front. So we had a meeting with city staff, including Jeff Thompson and the developer, that was going to bring in a building outside in the parking lot, right where this road is near.
Okay,
And-
I think I know the the project that you're talking about.
Correct.
I
So
don't,
like I
Madam
said,
Mayor.
Mayor, we're not fighting, we're not trying to stop this from happening. All we're saying is, yes, did we come into this late? Because we just found out about this project moving forward from MnDOT probably 3 weeks ago. All we're trying to do is, we're trying to have a traffic study done to understand the effects of it that are going to take place and affect all of our existing tenants, new tenants, and everything that's moving forward during the project and after the project. That's all we're trying to understand.
Okay,
And none of that stuff was done, along with all of the REAs need a replacement for the ring road, which the party that's giving up their land and taking off the ring road is not following those REAs.
Councilmember Schultz, you have a question?
Yes, about how, is there an estimate yet about how long this construction project will take?
Mayor and council, so the goal, again, we don't have the contract for construction yet, but our conversations with MnDOT have been that the larger 35W project is a 2-year project, and that this component that the city is adding to the project would be built in the 2025 construction season. So they're planning to bid the project in April of 2025, the total project, and this Buck Hill Road project is intended to be completed by the end of the construction season, so call it November of 2025.
So it's not even a year that this project is going to be constructed.
That's the plan, 1 year of construction, and then there's an additional, MnDOT has asked for additional length on the temporary easements for any sort of corrections that are needed.
Okay. Stas, do you want to tell the council what that project is that you said that can't move forward because of this project? Because I've been in those meetings, so.
Of course, absolutely you have. But I mean, that is not, as important to the fact that it was brought to it as hey, here's this developer, here's this team that we can bring into the city, help us get there. And then when the developer showed up, the only person in that room was Jeff Thompson that pretty much,
That's what it is.
from the developer's side, said, no, that's not going to work. Right? And that was going to be a 6,800 person stadium. The first one in South Metro and Minnesota for that size.
That wasn't Jeff,
Yeah,
wasn't Jeff's
Councilmember Workman.
sole decision. That council was advised on that, and I can't speak for the rest of council, but when I was brought that idea, it was a hard no from me. So that wasn't Jeff just making an executive decision on behalf of the city of Burnsville on that.
Wasn't this supposed to be built with taxpayer money, this stadium?
Correct.
Well, they wanted it, and we
So
said
there was a
no.
lot of tails to that
Yeah.
we're not gonna fit, aside from this.
Yeah. And I think we're,
But that's beside the point. Sorry to interrupt you, Ms. Mayor.
But it's
So-
contingent
like-
on your argument,
but you're the one who brought it up. So let me just get back. Council members, do you want this project to move forward? Because this is about approving a joint powers agreement with MnDOT. All of the other things, MnDOT and the county can work out with regard to the ring road and the roundabout. But this is an access. What we're here to do is to approve a joint powers agreement so the work can continue. We can either do that, or if you decide that you just want to wait and do a traffic study and all of that, the money goes away, and then we don't have anything. Then it just is, there's no improved access to the area, and there's no money to do any of that. So, Councilmember Workman.
So I'm not in favor of waiting. As we've seen time and time again, the longer we wait, the more expensive things have become in this economy. I'm not willing to sacrifice this money and this partnership with the state and the county, because as you alluded to, if it's not going to be allocated to this project, they will very quickly find another partner to work with.
Yep.
It's been my belief since the beginning that this project is going to benefit them all more than any other partner involved. And road construction is a part of life in this state, and we've all had to deal with it in various degrees. So I'm not saying tough love, but this project is going to benefit the mall and all of those tenants inside of the mall once it's complete. So I'm prepared to move forward and turn this over to MnDOT.
Okay. Councilmember Gustafson.
I also am prepared to move forward with this. I'm, as I said earlier, 42 is a big reason I want to see this project get done. If the mall benefits from it, that's great, and I hope that they do what they keep telling us they're going to do, but so far, I haven't seen a lot of it yet. So, but I do want to go forward with fixing 42.
Okay. Councilmember Keeley.
Well, if we had an option for more time and could work through some details, we might consider that, but we don't. We have, $3 to $8, $9 million riding on this, and we're not in a position to wait. It does beg the question when you look at this map, how does a person exit off of there and then go back to the north side of the mall? And it looks like they would come around, get into the ring road access on the south side, go through the parking lot, and then essentially cut across on that interior of the parking lot to get back over to the other side. Or they would, depending on which direction they're coming from, right? So it does create some complexities there with that dead end on that road, but it isn't an impossible situation. It's certainly not although having that road a dead end and fenced off or whatever, it doesn't
We have some very
mean
intelligent
that's the only option to
engineers.
get there, right? Yeah.
Intelligent engineers, and they have solved a whole lot of different problems, and they can solve this, and
Well,
it's a small.
and it's kind of the best of, anytime you build a multi-million-dollar project and there's a dead end on one of the axes, I don't think that's the most intelligent thing that you could think of, but it may be the only option that we had in this circumstance, because that property is controlled by a property owner, and they're looking at redevelopment, and that's not ready yet, but we need to move forward on this part, so we're kind of in a pickle, but we need to move forward on it based on
Okay.
accessing the funding.
Councilmember Schultz.
I do not like heading into an eminent domain proceeding with an objection to it. If there is an eminent domain proceeding and it is being done because the parties all agree to it, but there's multiple parties and there is complexity to it, and therefore the eminent domain proceeding is actually the easiest way for all parties involved to legally rectify the situation and keep it moving forward in a timely manner. That is one thing. When someone objects to an eminent domain proceeding, at that point you're stealing. This is not how this was represented to me. I would like this project to go forward. I do not want us to miss out on that money. I do not advocate theft. I can't vote for this. I can't.
Okay, very good. Members of the council, we've heard all of your thoughts about this. This is about a joint powers agreement, and all of the other details can be worked out by all of the professionals in MnDOT and also at the county and on our staff level. So this is a joint powers agreement with MnDOT and Dakota County. May I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
There's a motion to approve.
Second.
And there's a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
I'm voicing an abstention.
And there's an abstention. Does the clerk have the division of the House?
I do, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Snyder and everybody else from the WIN Group, please have a conversation with Buck Hill LLC and also with MnDOT and with the county. There are very intelligent people who can work through all of those things with all of you. And so you see the timeline. It's not going to obstruct any access into the mall from the west side for a year. So they start in the spring, they'll be done in November. Okay. We'll go to the next item. The next item is 5B, and this is to declare a hazardous building at 337-3431 Highway 13 East, Burnsville. And presenting this evening is our city attorney, Mr. Jared Shepard. Mr. Shepard, the floor is yours.
Madam Mayor, before Mr. Shepard starts, I'm going to be abstaining from this as I currently do the insurance for one of the tenants in this mall.
Okay, very good. And let the record show that Councilmember Workman is abstaining from any discussion or vote on this item.
All right.
Mr. Shepard.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. We're here to talk about potential hazardous building at Riverview Shopping Center, the strip mall owned by Diffley 13 LLC. I'm going to take you through as quickly as possible the kind of the legal process and some of the photos that show the current condition of the property. Chris Fasty is here as well as Doug Nelson from the fire department, who can speak to some of the issues if you have any more specific questions. As the council, I think, knows, the owner began demolition of the property at the end of 2013. They did not finish the demolition, so since that time, there's sort of been a half of the building sitting on the property in dangerous conditions ever since. There is one remaining tenant, the JR's Family Reunion Bar. We posted the building as unsafe in early 2024. At that time, there were some conversations with the owner, and eventually a temporary CO was issued to allow the tenants to continue to use that property with the hope that the violations would be corrected to make the property in a suitable condition to continue to operate. My slides, when they were put into the city's format, drastically expanded, so I'm going to try to whip through these so we're not sitting through 30 slides. So they were granted a temporary CO. They failed to remedy the issues. We inspected the property again on July 12th, 2024, and determined that the building poses an immediate public safety risk. Letters were mailed to the property owner and business owners stating that the building official and fire marshal were posting the building to prohibit occupancy on Friday, July 26, 2024. And then on that day, the building official posted the property as unsafe to occupy and ordered that the property not be entered. This is the current conditions of the building. These photos were taken a week or so ago, so I know that there has been some activity outside on the building, but more or less, these reflect current conditions of the building. This is the back side of the building. My understanding is some of the kind of odds and ends that are seen scattered here have been removed. So we're asking you to approve a declaration of hazardous building. That's under state law 46315, which allows the city to declare a hazardous building or hazardous property, which is hazardous because of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, physical damage, abandonment, and fire hazard to public safety and health. Here, the reasons for that are we have an unsafe structure, unsecured premises you saw from, windows knocked out. We have plywood, non-working fire hydrants and fire suppression, which is extremely important, and contaminated soil stock piled on the property as well. Due to the nature of all of the violations that are on the property, we've determined that full removal, completing the demolition, is necessary. Again, we have statutory authority to make this declaration tonight. And then it gives us the ability to, the due process here is that tonight you're being asked to adopt a resolution ordering and declaring it to be a hazardous building. That will be, that will itemize all of the issues with the property, and in this case, explain the only way to really fix that is to raise the building. In some scenarios, you may have the potential to fix the itemized issues without a full raise of the building, and we'll be asking them to do that within 30 days. We will personally serve this order upon the owner of the property and all lien holders of record. We have 9 recorded interested holders, and the occupying tenant, which is JR's family reunion. Possible outcomes here. We have the property owner complies with our order and removes the building on their own cognition without further involvement from the city, and the problem is solved. Another avenue, this is the due process that's involved in the statutory scheme, is that the property serves an answer in response to the city's order disputing that the building is hazardous. This would result in a court case, because the order would be filed with the court, and there would be sort of a mini trial on the issue of whether this was a hazardous building or not. Unlikely that the owner would prevail in that type of case given the condition of the building. If the city prevails in that scenario, we would obtain a court order for the property owner to comply, and then allowing some extra time for the owner and if they do not comply, we would go on to the property and raise the building and charge the owner for the costs. And finally, this does happen from time to time. The property owner does not comply and does not file an answer. That's when we go into the court, file an order, file a motion for default enforcement. The court will hold a fairly brief hearing and then issue that order that again gives us the ability to go on and raise the property and correct the public safety issues. So tonight, you're being asked to adopt a resolution that declares the building hazardous and adopts within it the order, which will be served on the property owners, the lien holders, and the interested parties. In your packet tonight, you have that notice of ordinance violation showing the opportunities they had and the notice that the city provided, the revocation of certificate of occupancy, the fire suppression systems report, the ownership and encumbrance report for the property, which just shows all the interested parties and lien holders, and then that city council order for removal. So that's all in your packet in front of you tonight for this decision. Oh. I think it's
Could you put down the resolution action, please? Okay, that's good.
All right. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Mr. Shepherd? Okay. Members of the council? Councilmember Keeley?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This property has been a problem for the city for quite a long time. In the last year, it's been, I would call, a disaster. And for the people that live nearby, it's been a horrible experience and sight to drive by every single day in and out of their neighborhoods and know that what was already a perfect redevelopment opportunity became just a crisis with what was going on there. The safety issues, the city having to step in and constantly enforce the owner to take basic safety precautions like fencing around partially demolished buildings, hazardous soils being piled up and left without being fenced around. It's beyond me how this property owner has been referred to as a developer, because this isn't anything I've ever seen in 18 years on this council and doing a lot of review of projects and developments, and there's, Madam Mayor, been on the council for over 30 years. This is one of the worst examples I've ever come across, and so I don't think we have a choice. I think the fact that it even came to this is a telltale of the lack of execution and really proper business conduct on the part of the owner, leaving that building the way it is. And it's unfortunate for JR's Reunion Bar to be caught in the middle of this, but it's unsightly, it's unsafe, it's terrible. So I think we don't have any choice. I think the property owner forced our hand into doing something that we really don't want to do, but sometimes we have to.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Schultz?
Yes, that's a good way to put it, is that this is not anything that the city wants to do. We do not want to have this headache either. But I do want to note before we take our vote that no matter how we vote and no matter what action ends up taking place, that will in no way make JR's whole. You know, they have spent their own money doing things that this building owner should have done to mitigate so that they could just try to remain in operation. And I'm assuming if the property owner had the money, they would be taking care of this. And so there's not a lot of remedies for JRs. And I mean, I just feel awful for them. So I wish there was something that could help them on this, and there just isn't. So, yeah, this is awful, and I will most definitely be voting for it. And the level of disgust that I have for the owner to do this to other people, yeah.
I think a lot of hard work has gone into this to try and help the tenants maintain their business by our staff, because we, at one time, issued hazards so that they couldn't occupy the building. Then they said that they would make the improvements, and then we gave them a certificate to, again, occupy the building. And they told us that they're going to do what was necessary to remedy, and nothing happened. So this is a sad situation to go through, but to Councilmember Keeley's points, this property has been one that we have spent a lot of time, staff time, council time on this particular property for years. This is not just now, but for years. And we're at a point where people's health and safety are the issues. And that is where we find ourselves in tonight. So members of the council, we are asked to adopt the resolution to approve the declaration of a hazardous building. May I have a motion?
Motion to
Second.
approve.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. And the clerk also has Councilmember Workman as abstaining from all of this.
I do.
Thank you. Members of the council, there are no other items to come before us this evening, and a motion to adjourn is in
Move to
order.
adjourn.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Thank you for being with us, and have a good night.